welcome to another edition of Focus with Tim Thomas. We're glad you've joined us for this very special edition of our program. We're coming to you from the beautiful, beautiful Mar Park here in the city of Madisonville. And what a beautiful backdrop we have. And we want you to call and let someone know that Focus is on the air. Certainly glad to have as my special guest the executive director and founder of Plan for You Youth Foundation here in Madisonville, Hopkins County, Miss Tanya Bowman.
Hi. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Welcome to the program.
Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about this organization.
Okay, in order to do that, I need to go back and
Sure.
tell you about my life
history.
a little bit before that.
Sure.
I used to be most people have heard of Door of Hope Pregnancy Care Center, which is an awesome organization here in Madisonville, well needed. And years ago, I started there actually as a volunteer. And then I was offered a position at the center as somebody's assistant, you know. And shortly after I started working there, the communications director, she decided to resign her position because she was pregnant. She was going to start a family, and I was offered the position as communications director, which I gladly accepted. And to be honest, I didn't know what all it entailed. Shortly found out that not only was I responsible for marketing the organization, but also teaching abstinence education in the school systems. And at that point, we were only in one school. During that time, I think the health department was going in, and I think they still do. But most schools just really didn't welcome the abstinence message. And so I was teaching at one private school, and it just took a hold of me. I just started loving working with the young people. And the board at Door of Hope, they recognized my passion for it, and they sent me to an abstinence conference in Houston, Texas. And it was there that I obtained this awesome curriculum called Choosing the Best. And so I came back and I called one of the teachers here at Browning Springs Middle School. Her name is Jenny Coyle. She's the family consumer science teacher. And she had a meeting with me and the site-based council, and I showed them a little bit of the videos on the curriculum and talked to them about our program, and they welcomed us in. And so then James Madison heard about our program, and they welcomed us in James Madison, and
It just caught
before I knew it, I was asked to speak at a district teachers meeting, and after that, a regional teachers meeting, and then other counties started calling us. But you know, we were really on a small scale because we were a nonprofit organization. We really didn't have the finances, and it was just me. And the next thing I know, I was asked to speak at a state teachers meeting in Louisville.
Wow.
And so the board said, well, how about we write a grant? And one of the ladies in particular, and so she and I sat down, we wrote a grant, mailed it off to the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, and lo and behold, we secured $1 million grant to run our program.
Wow.
And so we were able to hire 5 educators, administrative assistant. We just were able to expand our program, and we reached out to all the counties. The furthest we actually went was Grayson County in Litchfield, and all of our services totally free of charge. We went into the school systems teaching abstinence, not only from sex before marriage, but also from drugs and alcohol. And so now with Plans for You, we're actually doing the same thing, but we are adding a couple of components, which is bullying and teen suicide. We're combating those. But we ended up, to go back again, the grant was for 3 years, and after the 3 years was up, there was a changing of the guards in the White House, and they cut out all that money, so Door of Hope wasn't able to sustain the abstinence program with their finances, and so they actually had to cut that program, so which was heart-wrenching for them.
Oh, sure.
But God had already laid it on my heart, you know, not to let this go. And so there's an awesome attorney in Bill Henderson. He's on the board of Door of Hope, and he talked to me, and he did all of our paperwork, and I feel like God had already told me what to name the organization, because Jeremiah 29:11 was a life-changing scripture for me. For I know the plans I have for you.
Yes.
And so that's hence the name, Plans for You Youth Foundation. But he obtained our 501c3 for us in 2009. Shortly after that, I had 3 girls from my youth group move in with me, and so I had to go back to work full time, and so I kind of put it on the back burner, but it just stirred in my heart over the years. And about a year ago, I was working at the courthouse, and he came there, and I ran up to the window, and I said, listen, we have got to do this. He said, no problem. He went right home that day, got us reinstated, and here we are now.
Wow. So this has been an extraordinary journey.
It has.
For you. And when you really talk about God's plan for us, we go back a few years and see how the Lord has truly blessed you. A member of Word of Faith Christian Center.
Yes, Word of Faith.
Well, Dr. Hightower is our good friend, is the pastor.
He is awesome pastor.
He is. And when you really talk about from those early days and how the Lord has blessed you in ministry and that type of thing, you can just see the hand of God.
It is
working.
Yes, when I look back, I'm in awe. And people ask me all the time, Tim, how do you do this? And how did you get into the schools? How did you do this? And I tell them in a minute, I can't take 1 ounce of credit for it, because I'm blown away myself when I look back and see how he orchestrated this. It's all him. All the glory goes to him. It's not me. I have a great board. It's not the board. It's all God.
It's God's favor.
It is God's favor. And God's timing.
That's right. That's right. And for this new organization, Plan for You, when you really think about it, maybe at that particular time, it wasn't set, but God had His own time.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
For that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now bring us up to date of what you all are doing.
Okay. Again, we are in the school systems teaching abstinence education. So far this year, we've already presented in Hopkins County Central and the adolescent day treatment, which I just love going to the ADT. It's probably my favorite to do. But we have booked James Madison. We've gotten calls from McLean County, and so we're really on the move. And our goal is to get established to the point, and we will be looking for grants. That's the next project. But the community has been awesome in supporting us. When we first started back, I was working 2 jobs, so I would just do this in my spare time, if there's such a thing as spare time. But I mailed out a donor letter to people in the community, and oh my goodness, the response, and people saying, I believe in this, we need this, and it was just overwhelming. And I'll never forget one night in particular. I had just left another banquet, a fundraising banquet, and I stopped by. We have a P.O. box, and I stopped by the P.O. box, and there were a couple of checks in there, and I'm ashamed to say I was driving and opening checks and reading. And but one of the checks, I mean, every little bit, I don't care what people give. We are so appreciative of anything that anybody gives us. But the thing that just motivated me and set me over the top, I opened up one check, and there was a letter in there that said, nobody nowhere believes in this more than we do, and I'm not going to mention their name, of course, but, and I looked down, there's a $5,000 check. I mean, this community believes in our youth, and they love our youth, and not only do they believe in them, they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. They're willing to invest, and but we are in the schools, and our hope is to be able to hire educators so we can expand, so it's not just me. And at one point, I would love to be able to have enough staff and educators where I can just sit back and send them out into the schools. But we are determined to make a difference in the lives of our young people, and to educate them and empower them to make healthy choices, and to help them to understand that the decisions that they make today in life are going to affect the rest of their life. They will affect the rest of their life.
And there is a need. There is a need for young people support here.
Yes.
In every area.
Yes, it is.
And we're seeing that across the board. A lot of times you would think, well, the low-income people, folks, but this, you see so many kids out of affluent homes that have this trouble as well.
Yes. That's an excellent point, Tim. And I spoke at our banquet the other night, and I kept thinking I should have said that because a lot of times when you look for money for organizations, they'll have money set aside for high-risk kids or at-risk kids.
Yes.
But the fact is, they're all at risk. They're all,
Yes.
it doesn't matter your
Yes.
economic background. It doesn't matter whether you come from a two-parent home, one-parent home. Of course, fatherless homes, the statistics are higher in some areas, but really and truly, they're all at risk.
That's very
Our
true.
young people are facing lots of pressures. We had pressures,
Yeah.
but what these kids are facing these days, really, it is really magnified.
Yes, and do you think too that because we have technology now, all of this new technology
I
and
do.
everything really
do.
has effect on kids?
I do. I have grandchildren, and Tim, I tried to do the old school things with them. Like, I'm a woman, but I love to fish. And I said, I'm looking at this water now, but I take my grandkids fishing and talk to them and try to do the things that, they used to do, quality time, spend
Yes.
quality time. And I was talking about the girls that lived with me, and I remember one time we all got in the truck to go to Louisville, and that's a 2.5-hour drive there and back, so that's 5 hours. And as soon as they get in the car, everybody puts their own headphones in, or they're on their phones and this and that. And I thought after a while, this is 5 hours wasted time where we could be talking and catching up and pouring into them, and they're sharing with me. But that's how it is today.
Sure.
Kids are put in front of video games, or they don't go outside and play anymore. We used to go outside and play. Come home when the street lights come on. Kids are in the house playing these crazy video games, and so it's just a change in society. And,
It really is. It really is, and the peer pressure and
Yes.
bullying that you see
Yes,
now,
yes,
which is so prevalent
yes, it is.
now. It's just important that kids have true mentors.
Yes, it is. And you were saying that just a few minutes ago, a need for it with different organizations, and I know we have so many different organizations in Madisonville who do reach out to the youth. Like LaDon Logan has the BRIC program, and Eric Logan has the Breathe program, which is also my daughter went to the Breathe program, and it just brought her out. It changed her, and she started expressing herself, and she went from this shy little kid to, we had to sit her down. She calls herself the model now, a model type, and so. But there's a need for so many of us to join forces and reach out and save our young people.
It really is, and that need is there, and that need is important.
It is important.
It really is. What are your long-range plans for you?
I'm glad you say that, because a lot of people, abstinence education, and that is our foundation, is going into the schools, connecting with the kids, teaching them about healthy choices. But I've got a lot of things stirring in my heart, Tim, a lot of things. I'd like to, at some point, open a youth center. I would like to, at some point, expand our mentoring programs and tutoring, and because, going into the schools and being there with them an hour and never seeing them again, or until the next year, or whatever, that's not enough. We want to, extend our program to the point that we keep contact with these young people.
Sure.
And they would know that, hey, if I have something that I need to talk about or somewhere I need to go, here's plans for you. Here's,
Those are good plans and vital plans, because there's a need for those youth centers and that type of thing.
Oh, it is. It is. I grew up in Owensboro. Well, actually, Morton's Gap was my beginning, but when I was 14, we moved to Owensboro, and I'll never forget. It was 3 major neighborhoods. We named them all different things in Owensboro, but there was a youth center in every neighborhood.
Wow.
So after school, we had a place to go. We, to play ball or to get on the computers, or probably typewriters back then.
Yeah.
But, and there were mentors hanging out there, and so it is.
It really is. It really is. So the future is bright.
It is bright.
Yeah.
It is bright.
Yeah. With you personally, as we talk about young people and the age that we live in today, even across our nation, we're seeing so much taking place.
Right.
From Washington down to even here in the city of Madisonville.
Mm-hmm.
What can young people do? We know praying is the main key,
Mm-hmm.
but what can young people do to shield themselves from a lot of things that are taking place now? Is it possible to really be able to, I don't know if shield is the right word, but protect themselves
Mm-hmm.
from some of the adversarial things that are taking place?
Well, I think one thing is to get involved in programs like this. Take advantage. I think about programs like Plans for You, and which we go to them. But then there are programs like Brick with LaDon Logan, and there's programs like Breathe. And I don't think kids really take advantage of those things. And I think parents need to get involved. And it used to be a time when we were growing up, Tim,
Yes.
we didn't have a choice.
Right.
Going to church or to programs like this, if our parents wanted us there, we were there.
That's right.
And now they have a choice whether they want to go or not. But I think they need to get involved in programs like this. Take advantage of it. All these services are offered totally free. There's no charge. And so take advantage of these. Open up. I think one of the biggest things, and this is my big thing, and I talked about this the other night with kids. Our young people go through a lot, and a lot of things they don't talk about. And I think opening up is a key. My famous quote that I heard my pastor say one time, he said, if you don't deal with your stuff will deal with you. And that's so true. And I know that from a personal standpoint, where I lost my father at 7 years old and never dealt with it. And I mean, it almost ate me alive, and I was really rebellious, and I was angry, and that's one of the reasons I have a heart for young people, because I know, the pressures, and I know what they go through, and it's nothing compared to really what I went through. And I feel like, it was a very hard thing. But you look now, just look on the internet or look at the newspaper or watch the news. Young people are being exposed. They are being,
So true.
molested. They're being, abandoned. And it's just heartbreaking. And they need to have a place, a safe place, where they can open up and they can talk and they can express themselves. And so,
even to parents, I'll let you address that to someone maybe listening. Parents, maybe parents that are together, single parents. What is some of the advice you would give them in dealing with their kids?
Single parents. Well, number one, you're not alone. Seek help. Seek help. There are organizations, there are resources for single parents that will help you. One thing that we plan to do is host parent conferences, because we want parents to understand this. I know it looks like that the world is taking over, and the friends are the number one influence in your child's life, but statistics remain. It is a proven fact that parents are the number one influence in your child's life. And they need you to be there. They need you to teach them what's right. Not only that, show them what's right. We're living in a day now where it's not do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
Because our kids are watching us.
Absolutely.
As parents, they're watching you.
And you have to be the example, don't you?
You have to be an example.
That's right. That's right. And so, praying about this, staying in prayer, is certainly the key.
It's key.
Because it will change every situation.
Exactly right.
And sometimes we feel like the Lord maybe not answering our prayers, but He is.
He is. He really is.
Yeah. You don't have to do nothing but, as I heard one minister say, go into your faith file.
That's good. I like that.
And you don't have to go back too far
Right.
in it to see how good God is to you.
That's right. He is good.
He is.
And it looks like, and that's an excellent point, it looks like that the world is having its way, but God is working. He really is. And He's raising up people who are going to be there for our youth and going to mentor our youth, He really is working.
Right. As we look forward to Plans for You, this coming about, you had a big event here a couple of weeks ago.
We did.
Over 200 or 300 people.
It was probably, my guess is that we were set up for 240, I think, or 230 something. It was a packed house.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
amazing because we I've done these banquets before, and we planned months and months and months in advance, and we kind of did this in like 6 or 7 weeks. And so once again, we just stood back, the board and I, in awe with our mouths open, like as the people just, they just flowed in, and how the whole evening went. And we thought, God, you've done it again. Because we can't take credit. We were like scrambling and, trying to get, and it just all just fell into place. The people gave generously, and we had people that signed up to be volunteer abstinence educators that we have to still get in touch with. We've not sent out, we've not set a date for a training yet, but people signed up to give monthly. People
Wow.
gave generously that night. It's just a God thing. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, and we want people that are listening to give
Oh yeah.
to this, and your tax deductible donation is so important. This is about the kids, y'all.
It is. It is.
It's about the kids, and it's about helping children, helping youth, and basically, in the final analysis, helping adults as well.
Exactly right.
And we want you to send. If someone wanted to send a tax deductible donation, where can they send that to? And we're going to put it on the screen as well.
Okay, we have a post office box. It's P.O. Box 464 here in Madisonville. You can mail it there, or you can get in contact with us. We have a Facebook page, and we would appreciate, as Tim said, anything you give is appreciated, and it is tax deductible.
Yes.
And it will go to good use.
Absolutely, and we want you to do that. We want to make sure that we're being a part of this this great effort as well. Volunteer to be a part of that as well, because it's many areas, as you said, that one can participate in.
We need volunteers to go into the schools until we get to the point where we can hire educators. We also need volunteer prayer partners. I'm so grateful. There's a lady in town that I just love, and her name is Molly McGaw, and I kind of appointed her as my prayer captain, whatever you want to call her. I just know she prays, and she has a team of people, and I'll call her and I say, Molly, this is going on. Can you pray? We're doing this banquet. Can you pray? Sure, Tanya. What can I? She calls her team, and they lift us up, and so she would love to have more people on that team.
That's great. That's great. So we encourage you to take a part of that. We're sure glad that you've been part of this program.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's an honor being here with you again.
Really glad to have you, and appreciate your friendship and all that you do in our community.
Thank you. Likewise to you.
Well, just saying thank you is not enough sometimes, because when you're doing what you're doing, it can be stressful. It can be stressful, but God certainly always provides.
He does.
He always provides.
Faithful. He is faithful.
And when you come back and give us an update,
I will definitely do it.
let us know how things are going.
Okay.
And anytime I personally or our program can do anything to help, we're here for you.
Thank you so much, Tim.
We've been talking with Miss Tanya Bowman, who is the Executive Director of Plan for You Youth Foundation. And we encourage you to take advantage, as I said earlier, of this fantastic program up and running here in Madisonville and Hopkins County. You've been listening and watching Focus with Tim Thomas. Join us again for another edition of our program. By all means, keep sharing the dream.